Welcome back, everybody. Eric here, and I am continuing my question series where I take all of your questions you submit to me on Twitter, and the really juicy ones, I answer them here in video form on the YouTube channel, and then I'll also be posting some of these over on X as well. So thanks for tuning back in, and I get some really good questions, and sometimes, man, I feel like I could answer that question individually, or I can make a video and help a lot more people. So when people ask me questions, I take them all to heart, and the really good ones we answer here on the channel. So I got a question the other day. I thought this would be a really good one to touch on, and I was asked, should you use a shotgun for home defense? Okay, now I've done some videos in the past where I've talked about the merits and flaws of combat shotguns, the merits and flaws of shotguns in general, and pose a lot of questions on my own about how seriously people should take shotguns, just holistically. However, this question, I think, brings some really good facts into light that we need to discuss. Before we get started, I want to thank our friends at SDI for supporting today's video. If you are looking for a career in the gunsmithing world, they are definitely your go-to distance learning source. They've got awesome programs, great curriculum, wonderful instructors. Their financial incentives are great. And check them out. Their drone programs are fantastic. So if you're looking to, work as a gunsmith, start your own FFL, fly drones, learn about reloading and all sorts of things, they are such a great source for that. Check them out, Sonoran Desert Institute, SDI, and tell them that Eric sent you over. Okay, so shotguns are extremely useful for home protection because shotguns tend to they do well at short range, okay? They pack a real punch in a very close-in, short-range type of environment. They deliver a heavy payload. They generally, let's just say in a lot of shootings that law enforcement are involved in where shotguns are used, in the case of we're talking about law enforcement shoots, but this is true across the board for shotguns in general. Shotguns are generally regarded as one of the best one-shot stops on the street, okay? With a proper buckshot load or a slug especially, a shotgun is a very deadly option for protecting yourself, especially against any foe who might not be wearing body armor or something like that. But it does bring into question, okay, should you use a shotgun for home defense? Obviously, the concern being that shotguns are quite powerful, and depending on the load you use, yeah, the load can carry through several walls, all right? So what if you live in an apartment complex? And I do believe the person that asked this question lived in an apartment complex. And he's like, hey, should I use a shotgun in my apartment to protect myself? Well, that does bring into question some, some considerations, right? You've got your neighbors potentially. You don't know where they are. It's one thing when you live in a home in the middle of nowhere like I do, or something like that, and I know who's in the other room or who isn't. I know who's home and who isn't. I know where my dogs are at. I know that every direction is a generally safe direction to shoot, and I'm going to have very little collateral damage, potentially, from letting loose with a shotgun in any damn direction I want. But in in an apartment or a close proximity type of area, or maybe you live in townhouses, or you live in a city and there's, lots of other neighbors nearby, what considerations should you take for protecting your home and worrying about, okay, as they say, know what's beyond your target, okay? Yeah, right? If you're shooting at someone in your house trying to protect yourself, you don't know if someone in the adjacent apartment is directly behind your line of fire, and if your shotgun blast is about to carry through the wall, if it misses the guy and hits someone's kid or something. So it's a very valid concern. But if you are going to use a shotgun for home protection, are there loads that reduce collateral damage and make it, maybe a little bit better of an option if you're concerned about collateral damage? Yes. All right. Now, before I answer, I just want to mention, look, y'all, I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm not saying that this is the end-all, do-all solution to this particular question. I'm just telling you based on my experience and years of testing what I have seen in my testing and what I can apply to this question. We've done a lot of testing with drywall penetration with various types of ammo, slugs, buckshot, birdshot, etc. And we have found that the nice happy medium for a shotgun load in a close-in environment where collateral damage is a concern is number 4 buckshot. A lot of people don't know what number 4 buckshot is. Most people that are uninitiated, and they're basically familiar with shotguns, they say, okay, well, a double aught buckshot load with 10 or 12 pellets, or maybe 8 pellets, a slug load, whatever Forster slug that, the Academy or the local big box store sells. Birdshot, they buy 100 rounds of Birdshot by the case or whatever and go shoot with their friends or something, etc., right? Most people are familiar with those basic types of shotgun rounds. Number 4 buckshot is sort of an intermediate buckshot round, okay? So with a number 4, you're going to have more pellets, but they're going to weigh less. You're talking about the size of a 25 caliber round ball or so is about what a number 4 buckshot is sized as. So if I've done some videos before where I've compared the shot sizes to show you the difference, but all you got to do is just do a quick Google search and you'll see what I'm talking about. Buckshot is much larger. Number 4 buckshot is much smaller, but it's still buckshot. Generally, with a number 4 load, you'll probably have 18 to 24 pellets of number 4 buckshot in a load, as opposed to 8 to 10, maybe 12, depending on the length of the cartridge. So you're going to get about double, maybe even triple the buckshot, depending on the load. But the nice thing about it is that at close ranges, in a close-in environment, in the room you're in, number 4 is going to be pretty dang effective. I would dare I say just as effective as double aught. However, once it encounters drywall, because of the smaller size of the buckshot pellets, they offer much more resistance in the drywall, therefore slowing them down at an exponential rate. We found that while a number 4 buckshot load will shoot through 2 layers of drywall quite effectively, now that doesn't even factor in studs and insulation and wiring and whatever might be in the wall besides the drywall. We're talking just drywall. Even in our drywall testing, the number 4 buckshot would barely penetrate the 3rd piece of drywall, okay? And sometimes, depending on the barrel length and the load, we could get a piece of number 4 to go through 4 sheets, but most struggle to get through the 3rd sheet. Now, what does that tell us? Notwithstanding anything inside the wall other than the drywall itself, such as studs and things like that, that number 4 buckshot will rarely shoot through more than one wall completely. So that means that you're really only in danger of harming something in the adjacent room, but not the room beyond it. Now, let's say we took that same test and performed it with a 600 grain shotgun slug. That shotgun slug is going to carry through probably 15 pieces of drywall, okay? It's going to go through a lot because it has a lot of carrying energy. It is a big, heavy item that is moving quite fast, okay? So shotgun slugs, while they are useful, they do present much more of a risk for collateral damage, and so does double-aught buckshot. So double-aught buckshot in our testing, I believe, shot through like 6 or 7 layers, maybe even 8 layers of drywall, if I remember correctly. So buckshot penetrates considerably more than number 4 buckshot. Now, is that to say, people have asked me before, I'm going to sort of combine another question that I've gotten before. People say, well, should you use birdshot for home defense? This might actually be a whole separate video, but since I brought it up, I'll just give you the quick answer here as well. But I am going to do a separate video on that question as well. That's a doozy of one. Should you use birdshot for home defense? Now, there's been some testing conducted over the years that show that birdshot at very close range is certainly unpleasant, okay? You can certainly dissuade someone with birdshot at close range. Should you trust your life to that idea that you might dissuade them instead of just pissing them off? I would say probably not. I mean, at the point that you need to deploy a firearm for self-protection of some sort, you've already decided that using lethal force is merited. So by all means, that force needs to be lethal, because if you make it less than lethal, then what you're going to wind up really doing is almost causing yourself maybe a little bit more struggle. I think the law is going to look at it the same either way. If you deploy a firearm, whether you actually unlife the person or not, the law looks at the use of that force exactly the same way. Okay. So in my mind, if your life is in danger and you know it, and your only choice is to protect yourself with a firearm, then you need to stop the threat permanently. Like, and you need to just do what you have to do to protect yourself, because there's no in between. Now, can birdshot certainly kill someone potentially? Yes, it can. It can. Is the likelihood of you actually dying from a birdshot blast, save for the eyeballs and throat or face, as high? I mean, people have been, look, there's been murders that have been committed with shotguns using birdshot, and people die. I mean, at close range, of course, point blank range. If that shotgun shell does not have time to spread out and do anything, if the shot just stays in the cup, then at really close range, it almost kind of acts like a slug in a way. So maybe birdshot is an option for some of you, and they do have heavier birdshot loads. So you could always go with a heavy birdshot load, maybe steel or something, a steel shot. And you know, maybe for an elderly person or someone who is just really concerned about collateral damage, could you use a birdshot load in a you know, I don't know, a hotel room or a apartment complex or condominiums or something? I suppose you could. I would prefer number 4 buck. That's just me. But I suppose you could probably use a birdshot load. But I hope that this answers that question. I wanted to discuss it because shotguns are one of those things that, you know, this is a Benelli M3, by the way. This is a convertible 12 gauge shotgun that can go from semi or pump, by the way. Probably one of the best shotguns there is, in my opinion, is the Benelli M3. But a lot of people tend to have concern about shotguns, I think, because they don't understand shotguns as much. They don't train with them. They don't take them seriously enough. They don't consider them as a tool that they are. I think that, you know, society and media and popular culture in general has just sort of placed the shotgun into an area of FUD lore. You know, Elmer Fudd carrying a double-barrel shotgun. Oh, I'm hunting for rabbits here, you know. Like, they don't, you know, it never really came full circle, I think, for a lot of people that a shotgun can be a serious defensive tool. So with that aside, shotguns are great if you understand their intricacies and their quirks and their pros and cons and shortcomings. But their strengths, though, where a shotgun excels, it excels extremely well. So I think that's why shotguns have stayed around for so long, because they are such a utilitarian and useful option for a wide variety of different situations. Hunting, self-defense, bird hunting, pest eradication, recreation, you name it. Shotguns are just very useful, therefore they've been around and they will continue to be around. So thank you all very much for watching today's video. Make sure that you are subscribed here on the channel. Click the notification bell so that you get all of my videos. Also, make sure you follow me on x.com at IraqVeteran8888. I'm very active over on Twitter/X, so make sure you check me out over there. I would appreciate a follow. Many more videos on the way, y'all. Thanks for the question. We'll see you soon.